Hello, I have the following problem. I started a new job more than half a year ago in an unfamiliar field. My work is extremely interesting and dynamic, and I like it a lot. My colleagues and bosses are super cool, understanding, and tolerant, but the work for me is very emotionally and mentally demanding. I work with people, let's say with problems, and I have direct contact and conversations with them. At first, I went into the work meeting with a colleague. After a certain period of time, I started to lead them alone without worries and problems. In a busy meeting, I felt some anxiety and a sense of discomfort, fear that others would notice. Since then, it has been very difficult for me to talk to people about work. I feel sick, I feel hot, my heart is beating like crazy, and I just want to get away. The moment I think that the people in front of me will notice, it gets even worse. I feel tension in my neck and as if in the head area. This meeting may have triggered old childhood traumas. There are times when I feel this way around certain people in the work environment and even outside of it. I don't want to give up, but I think I already have. I've recently been working with a psychologist, but I'm not sure if it's working. According to the psychologist, this job unlocks old traumas for me. I've worked in different fields for many years, and I've still had difficult moments, but somehow they passed more easily, maybe because it's my first serious job, at least that's how I feel about it. I ended up with the old one because I have a child and the two aren't very compatible. I was doing great in my previous job, but I don't like it as a profession, even though it's more profitable than my current one. I don't want to go back to my old field, but I'm good there, and I'm afraid of a serious undertaking. Maybe I'm still too young, or I don't know. I basically define myself as a contact person. And in this case, I consider the whole thing a failure, not an experience. Can anyone give me some advice? Has anyone else been in a similar situation? It's been a long time, but thanks to those who made it to the end.
First off, thank you for sharing that. It takes a huge amount of courage to be that open. And if you're listening and any part of that story resonates with you, I want you to hear this loud and clear. You are not alone. And what you're feeling makes perfect sense. This isn't a weakness, so let's break down what's really going on here.
Okay, so what is that overwhelming feeling? The racing heart, the sudden heat, that desperate urge to just escape? Well, the very first thing to get is that this is your body's alarm system going off. It's a completely physiological process. This has nothing to do with your character or your strength. It's just biology.
And this right here is the absolute key. It feels awful, I know. It feels like you're in real danger. But the sensations themselves, as intense and scary as they are, aren't actually harmful. You're not going crazy. It's just your nervous system kicking into overdrive because it thinks there's a threat. So how does it go from 0 to 100 so fast? Well, it's a vicious cycle, a feedback loop. It all starts with a physical feeling. Maybe your heart skips a beat in a stressful meeting. Then your mind jumps in with a terrifying thought, like, oh no, they can see I'm nervous. And that thought is like pouring gasoline on the fire. It makes the physical feeling even stronger, which then makes the thought even scarier, and around it goes. The fear of the feeling is what's actually feeding the feeling. Okay, so that's the what. We get the mechanism. But what about the why? Why is this happening in this specific job? A job you said is interesting and you actually like? Well, the answer usually lies in the sheer emotional weight of the work itself. Think about everything you're carrying here. You're not just moving widgets. You are sitting with people and their problems. You're carrying their emotional burden, and you feel this deep responsibility to do a good job for them. Then, on top of all that, you're a parent, which pulls from the very same tank of emotional energy. Of course your system is feeling overwhelmed. That is a lot for anyone to handle. And this might be the most important shift in perspective you can make. Your body's reaction isn't a judgment. It's not a verdict on your ability to do the job. It's just a signal. It's your nervous system tapping you on the shoulder and saying, hey, just so you know, the emotional demand right now is a little higher than our current capacity. That's it. It's data, not a failing. This brings us to that really painful word from the post, failure. It's so easy to label ourselves with that word when we're struggling. It's a core part of that anxiety spiral. But I want to show you why it is a profound misreading of what's actually going on. Let's just put these two ideas side by side for a second. What is failure? Maybe failure is hitting a wall and just turning around and walking away, no questions asked. But an experience? Well, that's staying at the wall. It's feeling confused and scared and asking, okay, what is this? How do I deal with this? It's reaching out for help. That is the very definition of learning. And that's exactly what you're doing. By looking for answers, by working with a professional, by even just listening to this, you are squarely in the experience column. You are engaging with the challenge. That's not failure. Honestly, that's what courage and growth actually look like. All right, so understanding all this is a fantastic first step. But what about when you're right in the thick of it? When that wave of panic is hitting and you just want to bolt from the room, what can you actually do? Let's talk about a practical toolkit.
And look, these aren't magic tricks to make the anxiety vanish. The goal here is to learn how to manage it, to help your nervous system understand that it's safe, and to ride the wave instead of getting pulled under.
Okay, tool number 1, and this feels weird, but stop fighting it. Anxiety is like quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. So instead, just acknowledge it. Say that phrase to yourself. This is unpleasant, but it is not dangerous. 2, get out of your head and into the room. Anxiety pulls all your attention inward. Force it outward. Name 3 things you can see, 2 things you can hear, 1 thing you can feel. It's a way to tell your brain, hey, we're actually safe right here. 3, talk with your psychologist. Ask him questions. Tell them what's not feeling right. Therapy should be a partnership. And 4, this is huge. Do not make major life decisions when your alarm is blaring. An anxious mind is not a good advisor. Wait for the calm to decide on things like quitting a job.
So, for our last thought, let's just zoom all the way out. What if this whole incredibly difficult, uncomfortable experience isn't just something to survive? What if it's actually a sign that something really important is happening? We have this idea that when we're growing, we should feel confident and strong. But that's usually not how it works. Real growth, the kind that truly stretches you, happens at the very edge of your comfort zone. And what does the edge of your comfort zone feel like? Well, it feels a lot like anxiety. So I want to leave you with this idea. That feeling, as hard as it is, might not be a stop sign. It might be the very feeling of your professional and personal self expanding. It's the friction of growth. So what if this isn't a sign that something's wrong with you? What if it's a sign that you are doing something profoundly right?